Welcome to the Your Ate podcast, where you'll experience the unfiltered and inspiring world of impact-driven women business owners. I'm your host, Mary Grace Iniguez, a female multi-passionate entrepreneur and the owner of Social Register Network, and I'm on a mission to ignite the power within you. Here at the Your Ate podcast, we're all about sharing authentic stories, both the triumphs and the challenges, because it's through our life experiences that we can truly impact others. I believe that by opening up and embracing vulnerability, we can empower ourselves and those around us. So grab your headphones and let's celebrate the resilience, passion, and the determination of each impact-driven women business owner. Remember, your story is the spark that can light up the world. Let's make an impact and ignite the power within you. Hi, Francine. I'm so excited to have you on the Your Ate podcast because your story is so impactful and you lead an amazing women's group as well. So for anybody who hasn't, connected with you, who doesn't know who you are, please introduce yourself. Tell us more about who you are, Francine.
Wow. Thank you. I don't even know where to start. I appreciate you having me on, by the way. I'm so grateful we connected and just I know how our stories align. And so I'm super excited to be here with you today, this morning. Wow, let me see. About me, where do I begin? I mean, I started off as a single mom. I have a 27-year-old son now, and I know it's similar to what you have going on in your life. And I've just kind of evolved over the years. And in 2017, I actually fell into depression. So I created a group, like a community of sisterhood for women because I really wanted to support them in their own space, thinking I wasn't the only one going through this depression. Maybe we can come together and support one another. So I just started a group called Women Empowering Women Living Authentically. And now it's called WEWLA for short. And I literally just started speaking into existence what I wanted. I wanted to create a support community for women to be there for one another. And we've evolved ever since. And now we've built some stuff over the last couple of years to really support women in the mental health space, business, leadership. And so we are just, evolving every year. And I mean, my story goes way back with all the struggles and triumphs.
It does. And I think that's where you and I connected in so many different ways. First of all, I love what you're doing, just empowering women and giving them a voice. But also when I first met you, I just felt like our energies aligned and connected. Like you are like my soul sister,
Right.
because we're on the same mission, but also you're just so open arms. And I feel like that's how I try to be to other people. And I feel that with you. Is like, even when you address me as, hey, love, I feel the warmth.
Yeah.
I feel the warmth. And I love that about you because how you say, hey, love, ate is how I take ate. Ate is a Filipino word that we use for respect to an elder woman. But for me, when you say Ate Francine or Ate Mary Grace, it's someone that I respect, that I go to for advice, someone I love, someone I support. And so that's why the name of your Ate is on the podcast, because you today are someone's Ate who's listening.
Oh, I love that. That's so beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you. And I do get that. I get that from other women that say I've, inspired them in some way, shape, or form, which is always so humbling to hear. I'm grateful for that opportunity to be able to do this. And you're absolutely right. You and I just connected and it was just that synergy that we had and how everything was aligned. And so you would create a post and I was like, yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. I'd create a post and you're like, yes, I've been there. And so, I've just been evolving and really working on myself over the last couple years and even recently becoming certified as an NLP coach because I really wanted to dive deep about how we process and how we maneuver as individuals, as humans. Why we act the way we do, why we respond and why we don't. And just the different types of impacts that have affected us over the years.
Yeah. And I think as for many of us, right, and what we're doing is usually what we're doing today has been impacted because we felt some kind of like gut punch in the past. And so we're wanting to empower men or women, whoever that is for you, because of what we gone through. So diving deeper into your story, because this is one area that we like 100% aligned with, is we were both teen moms. So I would love for you to share that journey, like being a teen mom and how you navigated that with the adversity and the challenges and being a single mom and all of the things that come with it. Tell us more about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was 16 when I found out I was pregnant.
Me too. Exactly 16, yes.
Yes, exactly 16. My son was a prom statistic. I don't know if we want to get into details, but yes, teen.
That's another
That's
podcast.
another podcast. And but his dad and I had split up 2 weeks before I found out I was pregnant. And so I went into maneuvering how to be a single mom at the age of 16 and really just trying to come out and be someone independent, because there was a whole slew of emotions I got hit with. You know, obviously we're young, and then plus we go through the hormones. And really, I pretty much really grew up with my son and trying to maneuver everything that I could. I had the support of my family, which was great. You know, I'm grateful for. You know, my mom was there a lot to help support. I mean, I remember getting my own place with my son when he was 5 years old, and just really jumping into work and school. I put school aside eventually because I needed to focus on work, making sure I could support my son any way I could. And then, you know, just doing the experiences with him. You know, I was brought up in a family that loved going places, you know, like theme parks and stuff like that. So I took my son traveling. You know, he got to see a lot of different places. And so I really built that strength, becoming independent, pretty much being resilient into the woman that I am today. And, you know, I mean, I get the compliments. I know you do too, with how great the kids are, and they're adults now. And so
Yeah.
I'll go to work and his coworkers are like complimenting me. And I'm just like, thank you. It's pretty neat. You know, I'm very grateful and blessed that I was chosen to be his mother.
Yes. Now, when you were in high school, because I know I experienced it before pregnant or being pregnant, were there some challenges you went through with your peers? Like, how was that? Because you and I had a conversation about that, but I would love for you to share.
Yeah. So basically I was that girl. And I say this because people tell me till this day, I was that girl that was really bubbly, very outgoing, happy all the time. I remember people said I was always smiling, and it's great to hear. But one of the struggles that I also faced was a lot of women didn't like me, and they were girls, I guess, back then. You know, we were teenagers and so forth. But because I was so outgoing, because I was so bubbly and excited and happy, I used to get a lot of roll of the eyes, the girls that just kind of shrugged their shoulders and walked away from me. And I noticed that as I got older, like I got closer to men because the women just didn't really appreciate who I was. And I was sharing this the other day with a group, and I was just like, here I am today leading a whole women empowerment movement. And I'll never forget what my friend said. Her and I are women of God. And she's like, well, isn't it because you never want another woman to feel the way you felt when you were treated that way? And I kid you not, I held back tears because it was a group of women sitting there. And I just remember thinking, you nailed it. Like, I never want a woman to ever experience that kind of like separation or loneliness of being not accepted or appreciated for who they are. So, yeah.
Yeah, that is very similar to what I recognized in the last couple of years too, is, oh, is that why I do what I do? Because I don't know for you if it's the same as I sort of kind of brush that off of the experience I had when I was in middle school and high school because I'm trying to move on.
Right.
And then when you go through a healing journey, right, in which we're going to touch on with you, is those things come back up because now you have to heal from them and you don't recognize that that's actually a block that's going on over here in present time.
Right.
And so I had to actually go back and realize, oh yeah. And if on my past episodes, if you're listening, I talk about how I was, in quotation, bullied. And even though when it stopped, I still heard those voices. Like it's still, like I thought, for whatever reason, I thought I was being bullied like all 10 years of my life in junior and high school. But I probably was not. It was only a specific year. But those words and those things that I was being called was so loud that I took it on every year,
Yeah.
up until I was an adult.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, I remember it happened in elementary school and in junior high. And high school. I'm trying to remember high school. Taking me back. But I remember the feeling. And I think that's what it is the feeling that it gave me. And I'm pretty sure that's the feeling you got too, because although you hear it, I actually still feel it. And anytime it comes up, you feel it. Now, I've been through a lot of personal development and self-healing that it doesn't affect me the way it did anymore. But if you ever look back at something, you remember the emotion that it carried. And that's where you realize, okay, that's the situation it came from. And when I work with my clients, we always get to the root cause. So when people are affected, traumatized, different types of situations, words that affected them over the years, there's an emotion that's attached to it. And so I really like to work on the emotion so that it doesn't affect them as they're maneuvering through life and they're able to really step into their power than to give away the emotion that it carries.
And that is in regards to NLP, right?
Correct.
Like with your clients with NLP?
Correct. Yeah.
Where, as an NLP certified expert, where are some areas that you've seen that has it affected someone in their present time, like something that has traumatized them from the past?
So a lot of it is, I mean, everyone goes through different situations, traumatic experiences. The ones that I've worked with had a lot of the patterns that were from their previous either parents, mentors, people around them that were telling them certain things that affected them because they didn't think they were good enough. And so there was a lot of this like limiting belief and decisions about themselves as they were growing up because their parents didn't know any better or their people around them didn't know any better. So now they have these different types of words and understandings that they're associated with. And so when we really get down to why they don't do certain things or why do they feel stuck or why do they have this emotion tied into something that they're dealing with, and it's because I get to ask the questions of, so where did it come from? I get to go through the whole awareness of it, the understanding, to disassociate them from that place and time it happened. And then we get to reframe it and how they want to move forward. And so all of that as a whole allows them to break out of becoming the person of their past and creating a new future of what they want to be going forward. So it all comes together.
That is so powerful. I want to dive into NLP, but I want to kind of back up a little bit because as a business owner, as an NLP certified, as a community leader, you are also navigating some mental health as well. And I think it's important for us to talk about that because especially now, right? Like we're hearing so many people who are struggling with it. And I want this episode to be of help to someone. So can you share with us more about like the challenges you were going through?
Yes, absolutely. So this is a big one for me because it took me pretty much a whole year to figure out how I was going to maneuver forward, and allowing yourself to really have that moment of clarity and understanding and giving yourself grace for the struggles that you've gone through and really being able to step into your power. So last year, I was struggling really hard in my business and not really understanding why. And I'm just like, I'm capable, I'm able, like, why do I keep falling short? And all of a sudden, it took me back to a conversation I had early January 2022. And it was like a friend of mine, she's like, I think you might be ADHD. And I just kind of laughed. I said, I probably am because I know myself. I'm very hyperactive. I'm very impulsive and I tend to do things, off the cuff. And then before you know it, I'm like, oh, look, that's shiny object over there. Looks fun. Let's go play, So
This sounds very familiar.
Very familiar. Yes. So I was like, okay, I got really into really understanding what ADHD entailed. So I started searching, I started Googling it. And let me just preface this to your listeners. If you go that route, which I know you will, it will send you down a spiral of emotions. Now, if you're able to control those emotions, wonderful. If you're not, girl, let's cry together. I cried, bawled my eyes out because the last 30 years of my life made sense. And it just really helped me understand why I did things back then, why I did things a certain way, why I struggled in these areas. And it really helped me understand me as a person. Now, at the time, I was in NLP training, like I was going through the whole process of becoming certified at that time. So my coach told me, do not label yourself. ADHD is a label. And I said, okay, I understand that. I didn't know how to process that information. So do I not talk about it? Do I talk about it? Do I share with other women? My heart, and you know this, is I'm very authentic. So it's like, if I don't share this message of understanding how I process, how maybe other women process information, and utilize my strengths and know where where I fall short in my weaknesses, hence the shiny new object, then how are we ever going to step into our ultimate power of being the person we're meant to be? How are we going to really shine and excel in business, in life, in leadership, in speaking? Whatever it is that you're going after, how are you going to excel in it if you know that there's certain areas that you're struggling in? So why would I not talk about it?
Yeah. What were some areas, because you mentioned falling short in some areas.
Yeah.
What were those areas for a listener who maybe is like going through?
No, absolutely. One of the biggest area, obviously, in business, it was in business for me. Now, everyone experiences the brain function differently. Mine was, I was very creative. You can get me online, you can get me speaking, you can get me recording, you can get me doing all kinds of stuff. I'm very creative. I love showing up in this space. But if you put me in front of technology, oh my goodness, I spiraled out of control. So I needed to figure out how to have an online business and how to learn how to do the technology around having an online business. And I just spiraled. And so another thing that I got to learn is, if you find yourself hitting the wall every single day, you need to be in a community of women that are working together. Yeah. So we're all on Zoom, we're all on line, and this is what we do is we show up and say, hey, let's work together, let's coffee chat, let's Zoom it out, whatever that may look like for you. You have, in order for you to get stuff done, be at a Starbucks, be at a Panera with other people around you, or jump in a Zoom with someone. And that changed my life. That changed my focus, because guess what? I was a really good employee. I was a really good employee. I was on point. I got stuff done. I had a strategy. Everything was in alignment. But you got me to do my own business, and I was like chaotic. I was all over the place. So that is where I fell short. But I see other women that are thriving. Yeah. Again, I say this because everybody processes it differently. What worked for you may not work for the other person. So wherever you find that you're having difficulty in certain areas, then resources are available to you all across the board. So just know you get to show up in your space of empowerment, and wherever, like I said, you fall short, and I don't even want to say fall short, wherever it is, you're just having that, you need that extra support, come in and be a community with someone else.
Yeah. And maybe finding the right team member to maybe take over some of those things that you just don't process well in, or you don't want to do. It's funny that we're talking about this, not haha, like a laugh, but just serendipitous is I have a girlfriend. Actually, she's one of my new managing directors for one of my communities. And her and I would always have a conversation. And people would watch our conversations and they would be mind blown. They're just like, and then people would bring it up to us like, oh my gosh, you guys are having like 10 different thoughts, 10 different conversations in one. And we would just like, ha, 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 laugh at whatever. And then she brought it up to me a couple months ago. She goes, hey, so I was doing some research and I think that maybe you might have a little bit of ADHD. And she's like, but I'm not calling you out because I think I do too. And it was,
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
recognized it because our conversations, and then we worked on a project together,
Yep.
and just the way my brain moves and the way I maneuver things. And I, like you, started Googling it and looking up YouTube videos. But
Yeah.
like you said, everyone functions different. The brain functions different.
We
And
do.
so for
Yeah.
me, when you mentioned being around people and like that's how you can get things done, for me, I'm the
Mm-hmm.
opposite. So when I'm around people
Mm-hmm.
is when I really get like really fun and I don't want to work. I'm like messing around
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
time. And so I have to be like alone working. But the ADHD I recognize is I'll have a thought, a project to do right now, and then someone brings up something else, or I remember I'm supposed to do something else. I will end up over
Right.
there and not knowing what I was doing
Right.
right before and won't come back to it. It's
Yeah.
kind of like this funny TikTok that I found. It was a wife who was, she videoed herself because she wanted to show her husband, like, this is how my brain works. And she went into the kitchen to unload the dishwasher so she could do the dishes. When she was unloading the dishwasher, she was like, oh my God, I got to put away that laundry real quick. There was like a sock on the counter. She saw the sock and she's like, well, let me put that away because I got to put the plates on the counter. She goes into the room, takes it into the room to put it away. And then she notices all the laundry on her bed. And she's like, okay, let me fold this real quick. Starts folding it and then goes into another room and literally just keeps going. And literally the dishes are still not done. The dishwasher is not empty. And I show it to my husband. He goes, and I'm like, this is how my brain operates. Like just exactly what she says. And he goes, oh, I've known that about you. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
called out.
A lot of people will recognize it. And I think that's where the conversation is needed,
Yeah.
because the thing is, like, so many women suffer from like fear of
Yes.
failure. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're constantly feeling like they're failing themselves. And so like our nonprofit WEWLA is going to support these women, like, who are like, okay, my room will get chaotic. Tornado, hit it, boom, done. The next week, I'm like pristine clean.
Yep.
The following week, the tornado came back. I don't know where it comes from, but it hits my room every now and then. So again, so it's really allowing yourself to have grace and to understand, the situation, like, and be okay with that.
Yes.
Be okay with who you are. Love yourself, because guess what? You were created, unique. You were created in God's eyes to be that person who's going to step out and share your gift with everyone around you. And I know your listeners are women that want to do that. They want to be able to go out and share their passion and their purpose with others. And really quick to take it back to, because yes, I can have 10 conversations, girl, with my friend.
Right?
And
Yes.
we'll go back and we'll have all these conversations. But I'm also like you. If I don't get anything done, I will show up like a certain way I'll put music on. But when I want to get tons of stuff done, it's the hyper focus that I absolutely love, because I can knock out so much work in a matter of 2 hours, really focused. And then and then I may need a 5-hour nap.
Yes.
But
same. Then I'm like, I'm on the couch doing nothing for the next 5 hours.
Yeah. So there are days when I am like, I always laugh. I'm like, I'm a sloth. I'm a sloth on the couch, not doing anything, because there was too much going on here, mentally and physically, that I can't even function the next day. So usually when I have events, and this about me, I do women empowerment summits and conferences. When I have events, I need like that. I need a week to recover. I just need that space to like recover again, because there's so much that goes into it. So yeah, it's energy too.
Yes.
So a lot of the energy that we do when we're so creative, we have all these ideas, and yeah, when I'm working away, like I'm done. By the end of the night, I'm just like, okay, well, there's not much more I can do. So
Yeah, I love that you
love
brought
it.
that up to give ourselves grace because you
Absolutely.
mentioned, I mentioned being on the couch. You mentioned having to take a nap. And like after a big event, I usually take the day off or a couple days off as well. And for me, I just hear childhood trauma like years ago, right? That would be classified as laziness. Like you're being lazy, you're not doing that. So I love that you
Yep.
said give yourself grace because we operate in different ways. You can knock out a 5-hour project and then you do need the rest.
Yeah.
You do need a 5-hour nap
Right.
after that type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, It was so funny because this past weekend I was going to get X, Y, and Z done, and I did absolutely nothing. I watched Hallmark movies all weekend. And the following Sunday, I took a 3-hour nap during the day. So the thing is, there's this society that has built of go, 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 go. You got to do this, you got to do that. And it's just like, give yourself grace on those days that you cannot function further. Then you know what? Guess what, sister? Take it off.
Yeah.
Take the rest of the day. And I know some people would be like, I can't, I got this, I got that. And it's like, okay, mentally write down what needs to be done, actually write it down, and then say, okay, what can I get done in this amount of time? But I don't want you to stress yourself out, because I've done it so many times, to what needs to be done versus like, if you can get a little bit done out of your list, get that done. And then the rest you just put off till tomorrow. Give your brain the opportunity to reset.
Yes, I just heard another coach. She's a friend. I don't know if you know her. Her name is April Franks. And she went on a live, or she did a reel. And she talked about, if you're feeling stuck, like let's say you are working on something and it's just not coming together, or the creativity is just not there right now. She was like, leave it there. Leave and go do something fun. Mm-hmm. And I love her because she's like, go have an orgasm. Go do something. Like, and I'm like, yes, you need to step away from it. Absolutely. And give yourself that grace, because the previous CEO of Social Register, she used to say, no one's going to die if you don't do that today. No one.
No. And that's what I've learned throughout these last couple of years, that, I've been building the businesses. It's like, I've learned that I have to step away. Mm-hmm. So like, I'll get so frustrated where I can't finish something. It's not coming anymore. Like the creativity is gone, or I'm stuck in like the wording, and I'm just like, that's it. I'm on a break. Yeah. And I go and I'll break. Usually sometimes I'll do like 15, 20 minutes, but there's been times I've been gone for like an hour, 2 hours. And then I'll come back and I'll work till like 10 o'clock at night. Now, I'm not saying you got to do that. I'm just saying, like, that's how I process. That's how my body works. I work for myself. I work from home. I would make my own hours. Yeah. So if there's a day where I'm working 12 hours, perfect. If there's a day I work 2, okay. Yes. I get to show up the next day and get a lot more done, versus me trying to push something through that's just not going to happen.
Yes. Oh my God. I love that. And I know amongst the mental health of ADHD, you mentioned you were going through some depression. Can you tell us more about, that challenge that you were going through?
Yeah. So when that happened, I went through the depression in 2017, started WEWLA. And then I hit depression again in 2022, last year, when I found out I was ADHD. Okay. And it was only because of the emotions of realization of the last 30 years of my life. And I was like,
so let's start at the 2017, because I want the listeners to know why WEWLA was started. So let's start back there. Let's start at that first occurrence.
Well, that's pretty funny too, because the reason why I was in depression was because I was about to hit 40. And I had no...
Girl, you look damn good. You don't look like you're over 40 right now, and we're in 2023.
Thank you. And so I was about to be 40 in 2017, and I wasn't 40 yet, but I mean, I was coming up to it, and I didn't have any like relationship. I didn't have anything like where I was, because a lot of people don't know this, but I've never been married. I was in 2 long-term relationships, and I've been single ever since. So I'm going on my 11th year of being single. And I'm like, back then I was just like, who am I? What's wrong with me? Because society deemed that I needed to have a marriage, a family, the white picket fence, all worked out by the time I was 30. And it's just that whole process, because, our generation came from the baby boomers who had that whole family, life. And so I just felt like it was me. So what's wrong with me? And I got to really understand who I was, and I wasn't going to settle, because I have standards, I have values, what I'm looking for in a partner. Mm-hmm. And so I went into this depression of like it being something wrong with me, when in actuality, it just wasn't my time. So I got to stay single and be single and really understand how I maneuvered as a person. But that's basically how I started WEWLA. I created a Facebook group in 2017 just to like create a community for women to support one another. And I just started by posting inspirational quotes. And I remember doing that for a little bit. I invited like 400 of my Facebook friends, family, and friends. And I'm like, all right, they'll like it. They'll be excited about it. And then nobody commented. Nobody liked it. Do you ever go through that feeling? Because we're in social media realm. Nobody liked it. Nobody commented. So therefore, I was no good. So I went back into depression. And then I continued to post. I was like, okay, fine. Let me just continue. And then one day, somebody walked up to me on the street. I can't remember who this woman was. She's like, Francine, I love what you're doing. Continue doing it. You're so inspiring. I thought nobody was looking at my post. I thought nobody was looking at my post. Nobody was looking at, was nothing. And I'm like, but you think to yourself, well, if you like it, if it's so impactful, why are you not saying anything? So I always tell the ladies, I'm like, no matter what you're doing for you and your business, continue to show up. Continue to be your biggest cheerleader, because guess what? People are watching. They just want to make sure you follow through. So that was depression number one.
And that is how WEWLA was born. And then is this when you got the compliment from someone off of the street, is when you were like, okay, I'm gonna go big with WEWLA? Like, is that how that occurred?
No, actually, I didn't even know what I wanted to do with WEWLA. Again, I came from a corporate job, never working for myself. And then I decided I was going to try to figure out what type of business I was going to have. I started hosting summits and conferences, and that was just to empower women, to really have them step into their own power. And I didn't have any type of business sense. And so sometimes, like when I hear those comments about going to school, college degree, I was never your college bound person. I got my AA and I stopped there. But had I gone further, I would have definitely got a bachelor's in business. I would have wanted to have that business structure. So I didn't have that growing up. So I didn't understand the whole business concept. And so learning that over the last couple of years excelled me obviously into where I'm at today. So never give up on your dreams about what that's going to look like for you. So I've learned a lot over the last couple of years. And now WEWLA has since established a nonprofit because I really wanted to help women in the mental health space of like understanding who they are, how they process information, how they get to show up in their best self. So we can provide workshops and resources to them. We do monthly social outings. I want them to be in some type of yoga space, some exercise space, so that, we're moving our bodies together. And then we started WEWLA Connects, which is our membership platform for women in business. And then we have WEWLA Consulting, which is our digital marketing agency. So again, so much has evolved since then. I'm a coach and speaker, empowering women all over the world, and we're just constantly moving. And so that is what's come out of depression in 2017.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah.
You and I talk about, God and all, because we're very faith driven.
Yes.
Where do you think like all of this stem from? Do you believe that, it's already in us? Like our purpose is already in us?
Yeah, I absolutely do. The thing is, like, I laugh. I always share this story because it's funny. So we have greatness in us. God put us on this planet to be creative, unique individuals that get to support others, because we were never meant to just be here by ourselves, to do life alone. We were meant to support and help others. And people wonder like why we go through the crap. I'm like trying to get a good word out here that we go through. And so we go through the pain because it only builds our perseverance. It builds our strength. Yeah. It builds that resilience within us. If we didn't go through what Jesus went through with the pain that he suffered, how are we supposed to be great? You know what I mean? How are we supposed to step into the power and the mission that he has for us in this life? We're supposed to be extraordinary individuals. We're never meant to be ordinary. It's just the route that you want to take in life. So really focus on getting to be your best self. And I had to give it all to God. I had to praise him because guess what? I was Jonah in the Bible. If you don't know who Jonah is, go read Jonah. Because when I read Jonah, I laughed so hard because I was like, wow, God, you really know how to talk to me. Because Jonah in the book, okay, so God tells him to go to a specific, and you know, this is my memory. It's bad. He tells him to go to a specific town. And Jonah's like, yeah, no, I'm going to go this way. So Jonah goes the opposite way. God throws him in the belly of a fish and just punishes him. And I just laugh because it's like when you ever feel like you're stuck and just struggling and there's so much pain, are you listening to what God has put in front of you? Because I
Yes.
promise
Oh my
you,
God.
I wasn't. I promise you, every time he threw me in the belly, I was not listening. So,
Yeah. Oh, girl, I resonate with that 100%. And I know our listeners are like, yes, I'm Jonah too, because I was just talking to my husband about something and he goes, I said, I want your honest opinion. And he goes, you know, the movie Pursuit of Happiness?
mhm.
Have you watched that?
Yes,
Okay. And
absolutely.
remember when his son tells him the story about the boats and then he sends him the guy boats. I sent you boat then. I sent you 3 boats. And then he asked God, well, how come you didn't help me that one time? He's like, I sent you 3 boats, you dummy. And I was like, oh, that's me.
So
It's
I
like,
I literally went like this because I just shared that story the other day. Yesterday, I want to
oh my
say.
God.
I just shared that story because I'm like, I know, I know, God. It's like, it's funny because when things happen in my life, I'm just like, I know. You keep sending me boats. You keep sending me boats and I'm not listening.
You're not
I'm not
listening.
getting in the boat. So oh my goodness. Okay. I'm going to share one last thing with you. I mean,
Yes, please do
not
it.
that you don't have any more for me. I'm happy to share. But this just came up for me recently. Okay. And I'm going to share this because I'm very authentic, I'm very transparent, and I want to be able to be that impact for other women who may be going through something similar. Now, for the last year, I'm like, okay, God, I'm not where I need to be in my business because of this. I'm not, and I wasn't telling God, I was telling myself, okay? I'm not in this situation, or I'm not where I need to be in this business because of this. Okay, well, my assistant, is not here. Okay, well, maybe because it's this. All of these stories that I'm telling myself, okay? So I kid you not. Now I have conversations with God a lot, right? So the other day I had this conversation and I was like, okay, God, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to step into my purpose that He has given me.
Mhm.
And I've come to that realization that it was me. Now, when things don't happen in your life, remember, listeners, we got to look internal. Why
Yes.
are things not happening? Okay. And so I had to get real with myself. And I had this conversation with my coach, and she's like, okay, well, let's take a look at why you're not doing certain things. And I started laughing. I said, because apparently I'm still Jonah. But I told her I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to step into my power. And I said, and that is no longer an issue for me. So if any of you ladies struggle with this, just know that He sent you tons of boats. He's just waiting for you to step into it. So
Yes.
I'm ready.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm glad you're ready because girl, you have a major heart and a impact to make, and I believe that your purpose here is to do that, and I would love to see more of that in you, and that's why I wanted you here on this podcast. And thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I could talk to you all day
I
every day.
know.
Even you and I go on lives, we're like, "Oh yeah, we should probably cut it now."
I know. We can go on and on. You have no idea.
But Francine, I would love for you to give 3 tips to our listeners. It can be business, it can be life, it can be empowering, anything that can help them today in life and business.
Oh, you're telling me 3 tips. It's funny because there was one thing I did want to leave with your audience. And it was something that came up yesterday. And I think it's so important that we understand this process. I work with a lot of business owners, okay? And one of the biggest things that will help you in business is when you show up for something. So, like, for example, they're showing up in business to do something, to create some type of movement, to have some type of change. So many people do it and they want to take the next step, but there's so many people out there in the online space that don't really show them how. And so I say this because this comes with what I've been through, a lot of the not understanding, because it was so frustrating to be in the online space and people telling me, oh, you got to get your target audience, you got to do your branding, you got to do this, you got to do that. Okay, great. How? And, oh, well, you need to find out what your niche is. Okay, great. How? Oh, well, you need to figure out what their pain points are. Okay, great. How? So I say this because the thing is, it doesn't necessarily start there. It starts here in your brain. It starts, how are you going to allow that person to gain the knowledge that you are trying to give them? You got to look at how they process what you're trying to deliver to them. So this can go on both sides, whether it's me as the buyer, the consumer, or me as the business who's offering it to them. So make sure you dive deep with your people by showing them the how. Because when you get from here to here, that's when things change, or even from here to here. So it really needs to connect. And I know this is, some people will say, well, that's marketing in general. It goes a little bit deeper. You got to connect to the person, the individual person who is struggling to put those two together, to really understand that they want to know the how, not the why. A lot of marketing people tell them the why. Nobody really shows them the how. So doing that roadmap and helping them understand. So whether you're a consumer or a business owner, just know that you want the how and not necessarily the why. So anyways,
Thank
I had to
you.
share that.
Thank you.
Sorry, it's
Thank
been on
you.
my heart.
I agree with you 100%. That is one of the conversations I have with my circle, is that not only that, there's a lot of people telling you, I can help you get to six figures.
Right.
Okay, well, you're not sharing all the things you have to go through, not only tactical,
Mm-hmm.
but mindset.
Mindset is
There are things in your
huge.
journey,
Yep.
yeah, that you have to be part of your journey. You have to be at that and be ready and receptive,
Right.
like you just said, to even get to six figures,
Correct.
to even get to seven figures. And I think what you just shared was powerful. And I really thank you for providing that gift, because it's true.
Yep.
No one is showing the how. And Francine shared that with you, and so that you can now go out there when you're
Yes.
posting content or anything, providing to a community or doing webinars or workshops. It's like, provide them the how,
Yeah.
provide them the tools and the resources and the
Right.
steps to how to do it.
Right.
Yeah,
And
I
if
love
you're
that.
processing it your way, ask somebody else to look at it because they may see it differently.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yes. So Francine, tell them how they can get connected with you.
Oh, wow. It's so funny because I'm like, this is kind of it. I know it's crazy. It sounds a little pretentious, but I don't want to be that person, but I am that person, because I'm going to
Do you, boo?
do you
That's what
do.
I say.
Because no,
Yes.
the thing is, like, I'm okay with myself. It's just, it took me a while to get to be humbled by the experiences and everything that I've grown and what I've done over the years, and I'm grateful. So I always tell people, however you want to connect with me, just Google me. Because a lot of people were like, oh, I do Instagram, I do Facebook, I do LinkedIn, I do, and I say that again, just to know and see everything that I've done over the last couple years. And maybe something there can resonate with you. So you can look up Francine Ayala. You can look up WEWLA, which is WEWLA. The second W is silent. So just any of those two platforms, you can find me at francineayala.com. You can go to WEWLA.com. We have a new website launching in 2024. So they can definitely connect with me on any platform that they use and that they feel connected to. that's why I say I hate saying that, but I do like it because I'm like, look at how far you've come, girl. Look at what you've done.
Yes. Oh my God. I'm going to have to use that. But then I think, like, my brain goes, oh, are they going to find like my old MySpace when I was like 16? Like,
Probably.
I mean, go ahead, do it.
Because I used to sell certain products at one point. So you just might. I was part of a network marketing company that sold sensual products for adults. And
Oh, I
so
love
I did it
that.
for 6 years. I absolutely loved it. I had a blast. People are still trying to get
I
me to get back into
bet.
that industry. And I'm like, no, I'm good. But I can help support women in any space that they're creating. So I'm
Yeah,
grateful.
because it's all about mind, body, and soul. So I love that you shared
Absolutely.
that last part. Well, Francine, it was so great speaking with you and allowing me to share your story with women who are looking for community and support and love and all of the great things that allows us to really step into our power. So thank you so much for coming on the Your Ate podcast.
Oh, thank you for having me. Truly appreciate you. Thank you for all you're doing as well.
Thank you.